So here we are checking on our axolotl embryos for the final time. It's been 1 month, so 4 weeks at room temperature. And look at all these healthy swimmers. Everyone has hatched out of their jelly coats, which we saw last week. And we're wondering what's going on with the limbs here, right? What stage are they at now that they're able to swim around, chase each other, even to chew on each other? So we'll look at a few of these closer up under the microscope and see if we can get an idea of how well developed their limbs are. We've taken a couple of our swimmers and put them in MS222. So these are the 4-week at room temperature. This one's upside down. You can see the liver and the beating heart. And this little bump right there is a limb. We can't quite see the details of whether there is whether there are digits there. This guy, I'm going to bump him and see if I can turn him over. You can see through the top. You can see parts as well. And it looks like there's a limb sticking off this side. So again, the magnification here is a little bit difficult, so I'm going to try to bump them around. And there we go, I turned him over. Turn him on his side. There we go, perfectly on his side. There we go, now he's on his belly again. So as I flip these guys over, we're hopeful that you can see a little bit of the structures of these these larvae of axolotls, and their internal organs and the development of their limbs. These embryos were kept for 4 weeks at 4 degrees Celsius, in other words, refrigerator temperature, except yesterday I got them out and I let them develop. So these are 1 day at room temperature. And so I'd like you to compare these to the ones I show you next that have been the whole 4 weeks. So let's look at the tail bud here, the anus, right? The belly, okay? Are these gills and the mouth parts? How defined are these different structures in these early embryos? Are we all the way to a large tail bud that is curved here, right? Or are we still in these regions right here? Notice last week I was telling you those guys in the cold temperatures were up here. By 1 day in the warmer temperatures, they've moved significantly from where they were last week. So here I'm comparing directly. Almost 4 weeks at 4 degrees, but 1 day in the warm sun. Versus, look at how much smaller these embryos are. All they lack is 1 day at room temperature. Whereas you can see the head and the tail bud, compare that tail bud to this tail bud. Here we have a clear head, but no extra gills bump right in here. Right? Notice how it's bump, 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 bump. 5 bumps along the bottom here. Here we just have one sort of a belly and maybe a little bump for the tail. So these 3 are much smaller than these 3, and this is only 1 day of room temperature different. All 6 of these embryos were 4 weeks at 4 degrees. Plus these guys got 1 day in the sun.